Hey everyone, when you're buying a new motherboard, you might have seen that some motherboards advertise 2.5 gig Ethernet. So instead of having a 1 gigabit uplink in the back of the motherboard, they've actually got 2.5 gigs. But do you actually need this? And if your favourite motherboard, your preferred one, only has a 1 gig link, should you not buy that so that you can get a 2.5 gig link motherboard? So the short answer is no. Unless you specifically know that you need 2.5 gigs on your motherboard or whatever, you probably don't need it. If you're doing online multiplayer gaming or even using cloud gaming like GeForce Now, that doesn't actually require more than a gigabit uplink. In fact, GeForce Now often will cap out at around 80 megabits per second. Certainly not going to go above 1,000 megabits per second. Equally, if you're doing things like watching Netflix on 4K or whatever on your computer, that's actually heavily compressed and usually only uses like 30 or 40 megabits per second. So you certainly don't need that. What I would say the most important thing is actually, if you're doing like multiplayer gaming and things like that, the most important thing is try not to rely on Wi-Fi and instead connect over Ethernet. And that applies even if it's 1 gigabit. In other words, the most important thing for me is connecting with Ethernet if you want stable, low pings and not relying on Wi-Fi. But actually you don't need 2.5 gig Ethernet unless you know you specifically need it, which I know seems like a weird point, but when might you need it? Well, if you're doing like video editing over the network, maybe you're a video editor and you work for a customer in another country, it might be in that case actually you're downloading and streaming lots of data over the network, especially if you've got more than a 1 gigabit ISP internet package. And in that case, 2.5 gigs would be really useful. But to be honest, at that point, you could just, if your motherboard has 1 gig, instead of upgrading your motherboard, you could just go out and buy a PCI Express expansion card. So it clicks into your actual motherboard in one of the PCI Express slots, and then you simply get 2.5 or even 10 gig of Ethernet that way. But I don't think you need to specifically run out and buy a motherboard with 2.5 gigs. I think that's just overkill for 99% of users. I hope you found this video useful. If you did, please click the thumbs up button and please subscribe to see more short videos like this. Thanks for watching.